Islam. Thanks for tuning in to One Nation. I am your host, Divine Minister, Dr. Cedric J. Pearson Bey. The topic of today's lesson will be the Moorish Holy Week. Well, peace, 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 which is a universal greeting. Even your host will use that greeting. So again, I rise, giving all praises to Allah, the author, creator, governor of the world, almighty, eternal, incomprehensible, the only one worthy of worship, adoration, thanksgiving, and praise. I give homage to our prophet, noble then, noble now, noble all the time. Prophet Noble Drew Ali, El Haj Sharif Abdul Ali, who came kicking over the tombstones of Negro, black, and color, letting them know that we are what our ancient forefathers was without doubt or contradiction. Again, so I want to welcome you to One Nation. This is a class that's here to teach history and law. It's here to get the science of our people as one nation, bearing one free national name, giving back those slavery names of Negro, black, and color, giving you the portion of the understanding that you may know that you are free in your own land. This is our land. We're here to stay. So the topic, of course, is going to be the Moorish Holy Week, but it's customary that I always open up according to the divine constitution and bylaws. So with that said, salvation, our God, unity, the divine constitution of Moorish America. Act 1. The Grand Sheik and the chairman of Moorish America is empowered to make law and enforce law with the assistance of the prophet and the grand body. The assistant Grand Sheik is to assist the Grand Sheik in all affairs if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and it is known before the citizens of Moorish America. Act 2. All meetings are to be open and closed promptly, according to the Circle 7, in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest, because on Friday, the first man was formed in flesh, and on Friday he departed out of flesh and ascended to his Father God Allah. For that cause, Friday is a holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Act 3. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all citizens of Moorish America. No citizen is to cause any danger or cause confusion. SubhanAllah. All meetings are to be open and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest, because on a Friday, the first man departed out of flesh and ascended to his Father God Allah. Oh, God. Act 3. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all citizens of Moorish America. No citizen is put in danger or accused falsely his brother or sister on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister, because Allah is love. Act 4. All citizens must promptly, subhanAllah. All citizens must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all citizens must obey the laws of the government, because by being a Moorish American, you are part and partial of the government and must live the life accordingly. No organization of Moorish America is to cause any confusion or to overthrow any of the laws and constitution of the said government, but to obey hereby. Act 6. With us, all citizens must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are part and parcel of the said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopian, because these names were given to slaveholders in 1779 and lasted to 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era in time now, when all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Drew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people for their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites, whom inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All citizens must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and partial of all uplifting acts of Moorish America. Moorish Americans must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of Moorish America, and then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious in becoming a part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his Father God Allah. With that said, we'll open up at the Moorish American prayer. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my God, and my salvation, by night and by day, through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. So with that said, the topic for this class is again the Moorish Holy Week, and is chose this topic because yesterday was the prophet's birthday, and that's the beginning of the Holy Week, January 8th, and it goes all the way to the 15th, which is our emancipation, because it was on January 15th, January 15th, 1865, that they abolished slavery, according to the constitutional foes of the U.S. of A. The subject matter will be the introduction to Prophet Noble Drew Ali, because Noble Drew Ali is the founding forefather for the Moorish American nation. He came in 1886, kicking over the tombstones. By 1912, he had went and got the portion of the understanding from Kemet, where all prophets get their teachings from, at the age of 16. And so, going into that, we will also be dealing with who Noble Drew Ali is, what he was as a prophet, and what is a prophet. When did we become one nation? Where is our government, our flag, our land, our constitution? And how do we proclaim our nationality and learn more about our history? So, in dealing with the Moorish Holy Week, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read an a lesson that was given to us by our very own Moorish American government through our grand chairman, Dr. Akhenaten Pert M. Haru Tutankhamun Bey, which is a picture of him over there, and for future reference, we'll just be learning. This is the teaching mechanism, and so in order to teach anything, something, you have to be of that essence. And I say that to give you an example of a bear. In order for a bear to know how to be a bear has to teach him. A fish can't teach a bear how to be a bear, or a bear can't teach a fish how to be a fish. And so, us coming up in these days and time, all we know is Negro, Black, Colored, Ethiopian, African American. These names that dilute to slavery. Now, make no mistakes about it. I know you're probably familiar with hearing about the slave names and thinking that that's our last names and all this like this, but nothing could be further away from the truth, because your mother and your father and that lineage or that name, last name, lives on through you. So that's not your slave name. What the slave names is, according to our prophet, and you heard in the divine constitution and bylaws, Act 6 is Negro, Black, Colored, Ethiopian, African American. Those are the names that dilute to slavery, because those aren't our names. That's like me as being Divine Minister Dr. Cedric Pearson Bey, and somebody calling me Boo Boo the Fool. I'm not gonna. It's certain names that you're not gonna answer to once you understand who you are. And so this is what we come to set the record straight as Moorish, because we was Moorish before they blacked us out. Black, according to science, means deaf, according to our holy instructions. And so we're dealing with science, we're dealing with history, and we're going to make sure that we do have the tangible information to restore your mind, because it was told in the Willie Lynch theory that it was the greatest phenomenon was that the mind is strong enough to redirect itself if it finds a substantial amount of historical base. And so this is what we rely on. The history and the reliance upon the great God of the universe restores us with knowing ourselves. Because you got to know where you come from in order to get to where you're going. And so we know without doubt or contradiction that our history didn't start with slavery, or our history didn't start with the U.S. of A. Because why? The U.S. of A was founded in 1774 and didn't make manifest until 1776 when they came forth with the independence. And so we know that we have a much more royal history than that. And through these classes, we will surely find out with the substantial amount of historical base and information that you can go back and do your own research. Because I'm not going to tell you anything. I don't want you to take what I say for it, but I want you to go and study it for yourself. Because if you study it and you know it and you understand it, understanding is the rock on which we build ourselves. And so what we'll be teaching through that is knowledge. Knowledge is attained through understanding. But understanding takes you into the action, which makes you wise, and you have become your dome becomes wise, and that brings forth wisdom. Wisdom is to know that you and the Creator are one, because the great God of the universe made us. Now, are we talking about religion? We're not getting into religion. We're dealing with spirituality. There's two different things. Religion is something, when you go into the root word, it goes re, which is a prefix, which tells you it is to do over again, and ligion, which is Latin for to connect. So you reconnect back to the spirituality, and you become as that spirit. The Moorish American government, continental American territories, the Grand Seal, the Moorish American flag, the Grand Emblem. Moorish American National Holy Week. The week, January 8th through 15th, is hereby declared into worldwide lawful recognition. The duly redeemed Moorish American peoples as one free nation of the great God. January 8th, 1886, is Noble Drew Ali's day of birth. On January 8th, 1886, the world's last adept of a long line of holy prophets and archangels will be born in the state of North Carolina and named Timothy Drew. By the age of 25, he would be nationally known as Noble Drew Ali. Check Moorish Holy Quran, chapter 2, ayah 26 through 28. Yet internationally known as El Haj Sharif Abdul Ali. Like all major prophets before him, Noble Drew Ali was not only prophesied in Revelations 10 since old times, but he became the divine answer to hundreds, millions of prayers. Timothy Drew was prophetically born amongst his Moorish American nationals, whom were still laboring under the slave names of Negro, Black, and colored peoples. All prophets are manifested on earth to perform the same universal duty, to save nations from the wrath of the great God. Every nation whom have suffered this divine anger were punished because they did not honor the creed and principles of their forefathers and strayed away from the straight path of universal truth. These acts alone left the transgressors susceptible to filling their hearts and minds with limited thoughts of sin and crimes. Noble Drew Ali, although born in the West, United States of America, was sent to enforce the course of justice upon the violators of a universal divine covenant at the young age of 16, without parents, custodial escorts, or government deployment. Timothy Drew found himself amidst the masterminds of Egypt in the ancient halls of Kemet. He remained a student of the adepts for the next 8 years before completing his pilgrimage to the holy city of Mecca. Known then as Sharif Ali, he was fully ordained to do for his Moorish people in America everything that other prophets from Adam to Muhammad had performed for their special nation. It has been a custom for every major prophet of the cycle ages to either visit Kemet, or a commissioned adept master, an angel, will bring the lessons to him of becoming a holy prophet, an ordained messenger. Example given, Yehoshua, and now Sharif Ali. It is very important to note, no one before or since the advent of Drew Ali has ever brought to the Moorish people whom has been enslaved in the Americas everything it takes to save a nation. Still, it is solely contingent upon the redeemed people to take the maximums of these delivered truths in order to free themselves as one nation. And like other saviors, example given, Yehoshua, Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, and Confucius, Drew Ali was born within lawful European slave camps among those he was ordained to save. There he could also find the most complacent, stiff-necked oppression, and greatest doubters would be those of his natural descent. To this day, with the exception of a few Moorish Americans, only a handful has the faith in the great God of their forefathers, think the Moorish are worth saving. Nevertheless, because his people have fallen down to the greatest depths of wretchedness into a nationless status of property, straw man, and de facto citizenry, the last prophet has put one duty to perform. Still, to this day, January 8th marks the beginning of the greatest Holy Week of observance of divine and national freedom in the history of the Western Hemisphere. Indeed, he is the last avatar, a perfect being who was born under the extended slave status and jurisdiction of the United States 14th Amendment, because the great God of their forefathers showed his mercy and saving power upon the descendants of the ancient Moabites in the personage of Noble Drew Ali. The Moorish Americans welcomed all nations of the earth in our celebration of this first day of the Moorish American Holy Week. January 8th is the day of divine salvation for the Moorish Americans. Who is Noble Drew Ali? January 15th is the day of national emancipation for all Moorish peoples. Now, before I go on, it's expedient that we talk about, see, here we find that Noble Drew Ali is a prophet. Now, when we speak of prophet, we don't speak of spookism. We don't deal with, because one thing about it, the great God don't send a prophet that's in a spirit or a spook form because he's scared the wits out of us. He sent us in human form. That's why it is stated in our one-on-ones that what is a prophet? A prophet is a thought of the great God manifested in the flesh. So this thought to come and redeem a people, all prophets must come to their special nation to redeem them before they go and before the wrath of the great God of the universe come. Now, to get the understanding, you must understand our people, where we come from, and where we're going to. Now, we went through slavery. We went through over 520 years of slavery up until today. Make no mistakes about it, because now we have a form of mental slavery. So to go back from 1492, we know that that's when the first Western Atlantic slave trade took part, when King Ferdinand, Queen Isabella, those from Morocco, the Muslims, they all transpired in enslaving our people, the Moorish nationals, with hue. So we're dealing with raw truth that you can go and do your own research for. Check 1492. You also find out that that's when so-called Columbus was supposedly to come over here and say that he discovered. But over 10,000 years before he came over here, we was going back and forth from Africa a long time ago. So for us to be indigenous, our prophet came. He came and got the teachings from Egypt, as it's told in this reading that I spoke of. You see, all prophets have to go to Egypt and get that portion of the understanding in order to come back and to give the pure and unadulterated teachings of our people. And so we find out that he was born in January 8th, 1886. Now, from 1886 to 1902, we find in 1902 he left at the age of 16 to go to Kemet. So, if you know anything about those days, or back in those days, you know that for him to get over there with no parents, nobody escorting, no government assistance, that it had to be something divine about it. Just look into it for your own research. Noble Drew Ali is our prophet. He came for us. He was born over here in these states. He came, gave us our nationality. By 1928, he went to the Pan American Conference, registered us as a clean and pure nation of Moorish Americans, not Negroes, not blacks, not colors. Now, what's interesting about these facts is that you find out in 1928, after 1928, by 1933, there was a debt that was owed. Now, this debt was billions of dollars of the USA. Now, the USA, by 1863, had completely lost their sovereignty and went into a corporate status. This is law. This is dealing with law. But this is also giving us an understanding of what our prophet did for us. By him giving us the Moorish America, giving us these lands, when he got the mandate for the Americas and anything west of Egypt belongs to the Moorish Americans under the one pure name. Now, let me give you the understanding of Native Americans. Now, with Native Americans, you find out that they have what we call, they have one free national name, which is Native American. Now, they also have reservations. Now, the interesting thing about that is you'll find that with reservations, how could they reserve your land if the whole entire land belonged to you? So, these things is what get us to thinking. The prophet stated, if I can get you to think, you can save yourself. He said, I brought you something that you can't tear up. It'll tear you up. These are the things that been prophesied by our prophet said in the 20s that if the European was just, they would have an Asiatic president and a European vice president, or they would have vice versa. And if you look at today, we have an Asiatic president of Obama, and we have a European vice president. So prophecies are being fulfilled every day of the ancient texts. You see, and this is not dealing with religion again. This is dealing with historical base. When you go to the Bible is not the word of the God, a word of God, but it was written, it's a compilation of books of historical base that comes from a cable line or a maxim. A maxim is the original name, which means lands of the God, and then you have a cable line, which means that particular landmass of humans. When you're dealing with hue, you're dealing with pigmentation, or the best word for it is hue, or melon drenched. This is the divine source. This is what our prophet brought for us, to give us an understanding of who we was and tie us back to the human family. You can't be in the human family being Negro, black, and color, Latins, and Hispanics. All of these are misnomers. White, that's a misnomer. White mean purity. Purity mean God. God mean ruler of the land. So it seemed like they gave us the Bible in our hand and then took our land. I know you done heard that before. And so these are all the things that we going to learn that Noble Drew Ali brought way back then. But he told the Moors back then, he said, if you're not careful, 50 years from now, you won't even know that I've been here. It's been 80-odd-something years, no, over 130 years to count right now since his birthday. Over 80 years since he went and registered us as a nation. A pure and clean nation with our land. And guess what? He told us the gold and silver belong to the citizens. We alone are the citizens, and we are the aboriginals of the Americas. North, South, Central, the 7,000 adjoining islands, West Africa, anything west of Egypt. And so, again, we talk about what is a prophet. Now we know what is a prophet. I told you, a prophet is a thought of Allah manifested in the flesh. We're not dealing with nothing that's way far out, far-fetched. He prophesied, and the prophecies are being fulfilled, even in that order. So we don't have to prove that the prophet is not a prophet. You have to prove that he's not a prophet. Simple as that. So when did we become one nation? Is what we'll find next. When we go from January 8th, which we just gave, is Noble Drew Ali's birthday, and that's why we represent that. So we'll go to January 15th, which is the last day of the Moorish American week, Holy Week. So moving on from the Moorish Holy Week, we'll be going to when did we become one nation? And I'll be taking a reading to give you the portion of the understanding, and then just allow it to lead. January 15th, 1865, U.S. Congress abolished slavery. Now we, the Moorish Americans of our own new era of time, hereby declare this great day, the Moorish New Year. On January 15, 1865, the United States Congress ratified into law 2 of the 20 sections of the proposed 13th Amendment. It only took one of these 2 sections to abolish its 86 years of constitutional slavery. Also, effective on January 15, 1926, Noble Drew Ali wrote Act 6, a bar law to the divine constitution for his Moorish American nation. In this bylaw, we declare the freedom of his people by bringing in, this is a new era of time now, whereas the Moorish must proclaim our nationality before their theocratic government, the only true state in which we can live, and in order to link ourselves to and be recognized by the nations of the earth. Now more sovereign citizens can now take their place in the affairs of men. The Moorish are not Negroes, black folks, nor colored people, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. The two events apex many reasons the Moorish Americans make January 15th the Moorish New Year. The Moorish use the 15th day as the day of the national salvation and the 8th as their divine salvation to showcase their year-round divine and national movement. Drew Ali taught the Moorish from 1779 to 1865 was during the time of constitutional slavery. All descendants of the northwest and southwestern shores of Africa should be ever mindful of those lawful days, because the United States Constitution 3/5 clause, the Treaty of Peace and Friendship between the new United States and Slave Kingdom of Morocco, the Amistad case, the Dred Scott decision, and the Emancipation Proclamation were all written during this time. There were no document, decision, or laws written during this period to authorize anything except the enslavement of African peoples. Contrary to assumed belief, the 13th Amendment did abolish the lawful system of slavery in the U.S., except for those duly convicted of a crime, but did not free one of the million of West African nationals. Slaves are powerless as chattel, do not have flags, and do not write national constitutions nor sign treaties. True freedom must be aggressively sought through self-determination, then restored and protected by the former sufferers. This abolishment brought a lawful end to the USA institution of slavery. The Masonic slaveholders and all names NBC given to their slaves. Among the denational Moorish called NBC, only the Moorish Americans are proclaimed their free national name before their Moorish national government. Their theocratic government is the only successive government in which the Moorish can truly live in freedom. January 15th is the celebration of the Moorish New Year in remembrance of their self-determination and freedom from U.S. slavery, which the Moorish glorified their reattachment to the human families of nations. The Moorish Americans are no longer the reject cornerstone from the human families of nations. All praises. January 15th is the day of the great earthly salvation for the Moorish Americans. A few things free Moorish Americans need to know. The Moorish Americans are a free, sovereign, and independent nation of people. They are not Negroes, black people, colored folks, nor any other form of chattel property or denationalized slaves. We are now linking ourselves with all other human families of nations. When other nations see the Moorish, they see a people of principles, namely their 5-pointed open green star, which represents love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. The Moorish are direct manifest of their great God, Allah, also known as divine love. The return of the Moorish is a new era and the return of peace on earth. Today, every nation is seeking peace, but only through the Moorish freedom shall this peace be attained. During the Moorish American Holy Day week, we observe peace at all costs. No, the Moorish Americans do not commercialize their days of celebration. Neither does the Moorish welcome their New Year soulless with gunfire, explosions, or other weaponry designed to destroy life. Fasting, prayer, and meditation upon knowledge of the God self highlights the Moorish American Holy Day week of January 8th through 15th. The Moorish Americans, as a newly redeemed nation, are the true descendants and successionists of the ancient Moabites, the first God people to adorn human form on earth. All Moorish powers rest within the sovereignty of their government, one nation, bearing our one free national name within the peace of their society. The Moorish American nation is not a group, order, nor organization, because non-governmental organizations cannot be a nation. The Moorish people, the Moorish families need to learn to love instead of hate. The more they become themselves, God as love, the greater the force they will be, thereby knowing and being the clean and pure nation which they are obtained to be. They need to learn to honor the Moorish flag. Our flag is not the fallow flag of Morocco, because it was used to enslave the Moors of West Africa. The 5 points do not represent the West African slave trade, as were used by Morocco from 1492 until 1905. Our flag belongs to the same free Moorish gods today as our forefathers lived 100,000 years ago. We now have the Moorish American national anthem. Now we are prepared to issue treaties to the coming allies recognizing our national state. Do not expect the courts and laws of those who have enslaved you to also free you as a people. No government on earth can be found in the courts of another government. The Moorish Americans will only witness their true redemption while proclaiming their one free national name. Make your days longer by living the true life, the only life worthy of praise and thanksgiving. We now declare the Moorish American Holy Week because it is lawfully our own to claim. We, the Moorish American, honor all prophets, nations, and religions of the earth. We, as the true citizens, to help us in our gigantic missionary work of saving fallen humanity. Peace and love divine to all. Dr. Serafis Amin Rael, National Grand Chief. Dr. Agnakin Pert M. Peru Tutankhamun Bey, Grand National Chairman. Dr. Shahid Imani Al Mohadi Shabazz El, National Assistant Grand Chief. Islam.